Hey everybody, this is Harmony, and you know I got soul.
Hey Harmony.
Hey sir, how are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm fine, I'm great, thank you.
Alright, so, thank you for taking the time out for the interview. We appreciate it.
Thank you for doing the interview, I appreciate it too. Thank you very much.
Alright, so I just wanted to take it back to the beginnings of your career a little bit. Read that you were originally discovered by Rodney Jerkins, so can you talk to me about how you met him and how that opportunity came about?
Well, it's quite simple. I came to LA for another reason. I was told to come to LA to meet someone else. And while I was in that meeting, being told I wasn't good enough, Rodney Jerkins was looking for me. Because he felt he had heard my music at Interscope. He was walking past the Interscope, one of the offices, and he heard my music being played, and he walked in the room and was like, I need to find this kid. So it was kind of like I was being let down on one end, but then another opportunity was coming up. And then I met him that same day, and he basically, on the spot, signed me. Basically said, yeah, I need you a part of the team.
Oh, wow. With working with him, was it more so like working alongside with him, or did he just let you do what you normally do?
We had moments where we did that. We had moments where we worked alongside each other, and then there was moments where most of the time I worked on my own because I was already working on my own. I was in the middle of working on a UK rappers album, a humongous rapper back in the UK called Chipmunk. So, he was very much letting me do my own thing at that time. But there were times we collaborated. We collaborated on numerous occasions, and it was fun. He taught me so much. He taught me, I always say to people, it was like my final year in Harvard. I was about to get my degree. That's what my experience was with Rodney.
Oh, wow. Cool. Now, I know you're originally from the UK, and then you had to relocate to the US, so can you just talk about that transition for yourself and why you felt it was necessary?
I'd reached my ceiling in the UK. We had pretty much built a name for ourselves on the underground circuit, and commercially there just wasn't enough people for us to work with, and we had done everything from remixes for big stars in the UK to some of the American superstars, and we kind of reached our ceiling, and we really wanted to work on some major projects. And basically, when I met Rodney was like, so, if you sign with us, you're going to have to move to LA, which wasn't in my plans at all. I always wanted to move to New York, so I was like, can I just go to New York and maybe just send you stuff? And he was like, no, you have to move to LA. So I took the opportunity, and, I did. But the first year was very difficult because, I didn't know anybody. I pretty much was by myself. And then my business partner, Chris Woods, came out afterwards. And it was very difficult because, the street's very different. It's very big. The city's very big. And the game's a little bit more wilder over here than it is there.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I learned so much. And I guess America is the land where dreams can come true. And I've been making music for 15 years, and until I made the transition to the U.S., my career was kind of at a point, and it never kind of went anywhere.
Yeah.
And then when I came over to the U.S., it really did, it took charge, and, a lot of great things happened in a short space of time.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I'll say this. For a lot of new producers who want to make it to the industry, with the way that technology is now, where you can just send everything through email, they might make the argument that you don't have to move, that you can just stay where you are. But like you said, it's a lot different in the US than it is in the UK. Yeah, so just talk about that, and what advice would you give to those people?
Okay, well, there's different types of producers. There's producers who make music and that's what they do. And then there's producers who make music, develop artists, and have a relationship. That's the type of producer I am. So 9 times out of 10, any record that you've heard from me is because I know the artist, I'm in the studio with the artist, I recorded the artist, I vocal produced the artist, I vocal produced the record, and, you know, I'm like a coach in the studio.
Yeah.
To start the record. So, you know, the reason why producers still, I had to move was because to get the best out, I've just finished Fantasia's albums, for instance.
Yeah.
And Fantasia wouldn't let anybody vocal produce but me because she felt safe and comfortable. And, you know, I'm kind of like a new age producer, but old school producer where, you know, Quincy Jones quotes, you know, to bring the best out of an artist, you have to know them and love them. And that's what we do. We have relationships with the artists we work with. We don't just go in the studio and here's a track, good day. And they trust us, and now they're trusting us with albums. They're saying, like, you know, Fantasia was like, I wanted to do my whole album. We're about to do Michelle Williams with Destiny's Child new album. I'm about to do another girl called Ariana Grande's album.
Yeah.
Who signed to Universal, and you know, these people just feel safe and trust that we will deliver, not just musically, not just sonically, but the songs, and we will deliver them too. That their performance is of a high percentage. So you know, Chris always says to me, you know, every Michael Jordan needs a Phil Jackson.
Yeah.
And that's the way I look at this industry. You know, L.A. Reid and Babyface, without them, we wouldn't have had TLC or Tony Braxton or, you know what I mean, these great Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis, Janet Jackson, like Jermaine Dupri, Mariah Carey, and Usher. So, you know, you have to find the synergy that works and develop them to make big. You become bigger. You become a bigger star if you have a coach, rather than just being sent music all the time.
Yeah, definitely. And, you know, since you moved to the U.S., you've had a lot of great projects come your way. You've had a lot of placements. And, you know, that's rare for a new producer to have that many placements in a short period of time. So, you know, when did the calls start coming in, and, you know, what do you think has been key to getting all these placements?
Well, the first thing I did was, when I first got to LA, it was just the same game, like, trying to get in with people, trying to meet people. I mean, we would spend hours on the Santa Monica Strip, going to Universal, going to Island Def Jam, seeing the same people that I work with now.
Yeah.
And they would be like, yeah, you know. So it's kind of funny, because it's like, I remember 3 years ago, you guys wouldn't even take me seriously. But to be honest with you, it's delivery. Do you deliver when they ask for you to deliver? That was the first thing. And two, working with people, like the way I got into the industry, got in with a lot of people was through Chris Brown. And even with Chris Brown, the only reason why I got in with Chris Brown was I was working on this young man called Jawan Harris, who nobody knows, and you know he's a scientist only, same label as Chris. Chris's A&R, Mark Pitts, signed the kid, and they wanted a record for him. They really wanted to try and push him out there, and they believed, and they were like, we did a song, and they asked me for us. I did a song called Nobody, and they wanted me to work with him, and I said, cool, and I did, you know, like 7, 8 songs with the kid, and they put the record out, and they needed a co-sign for the kid, so they needed, you know, Chris Brown to, you know, stand in the video with him and say, you know, this is an incredible kid. And, you know, when they co-sign, whenever you get someone like Chris Brown to co-sign, he tends to pick up his fan base and everything else. So we was at the video shoot, and Chris literally walks up to me and says, did you make this record? And I was like, yeah. He said, it's incredible. I really want to work with you. And we worked on Fame, the Fame album. I did 2 songs on that album. We did a record with Chipmunk called Champion that charted #1 in the UK and in Europe. And he just went around telling everybody. Everyone was like, yo, we made these records on Chris' album. And then people were like, Harmony. And they was like, the same kid from London? And he was like, yeah. And, you know, the phone starts to ring once it's been proven that you are really good at what you do.
Oh, wow.
So, right. And then Chris Brown did an interview on BT when he was promoting the album, and I was one of the only producers. He didn't speak about he spoke about Timberland and Polo the Don and John Baptiste, and these were producers who had sold millions of records.
Yeah.
And then he spoke about me, this new kid that no one knew, and he was like, "Yo, he's incredible," and I was shocked myself when I watched it because I was like, "Oh, really? Wow, that's." And I tell you, from that day, it's never been the same. Everybody's like, the phone has always kept ringing because of it.
Oh, very cool. So, from the songs that I've heard from you so far, it seems like, there's a different sound to each track that you make. It seems like you're trying to complement the artist with your sound instead of forcing a certain style on them. So, is that important to you, that versatility that you bring?
Yeah, when it comes to the artist, to make an artist do something that they're not comfortable doing is the death of a record. The artist is important, but the song is even more important to me, anyway. And we spend a lot of time making the right song for the right artist, because if you don't, you could damage their career, which will also damage mine. So, you tend to, like when we went in with Keyshia Cole and Lil Wayne, and we did that Enough for No Love, like, she pretty much walked in, and that was the first record she did. That was the record she did. She walked in and was like, "Oh, this is perfect." It's almost like she knew me. And I was like, "Well, I've done the research. I've listened to your records. I've listened to the records that make you who you are. Why would I give you anything less or anything away from who you really are?" And even if you want to change, want to add, you still have to keep the core. You still have to keep the center of who she is, and then add the creative difference, or the creative, left, I'd call it left, the creative leftness to make it sound different. But if the core of the artist isn't there, you tend to get lost. Rihanna has never changed. Rihanna's still the same, even though she's growing and growing and growing. She's still the same artist. Her core is still there. Her fans are still there, and they're growing with her. But she's still core. Like, you never hear nothing to be like, "Oh my God, who is that?" You know it's Rihanna because it sounds like her.
Yeah. So a song that you did not too long ago is the one for Brandy, which, of course Brandy is known for her harmonies and runs, but on Without You, it's more stripped down production-wise. So what was the approach with that one, and how did that whole collaboration come about?
Oh, well, firstly, that song was written like 3 years ago.
Okay.
That song has been sitting on my computer for a very long time.
Okay.
and I have a writing team, my writing team, Courtney Harrell and Eric Bellinger, who are incredible records. Who've written everything from Usher to Chris Brown. We did that record, for Alicia Keys in mind. That was who we did that record for.
Okay.
And that's why it's very stripped down, because, Alicia Keys' records are very piano and drums. And that's what we really wanted to. And, we didn't want to overproduce it because the song was so meaningful. It says, "I really need you. Without you in my life, I'm nothing." And we really wanted that to penetrate. And sometimes harmonies and too much technology takes away from the message.
Yeah.
So we really, and then, Brandy came in and she just put her soul over it. And, she loved the record so much, she said, "I want to keep the same simplicity that you had on the record." And she pretty much just followed what we did. And God bless her soul, she did such an amazing job.
Oh, definitely. And then another song that you did was the one for Neo, "Don't Make 'Em Like You." Talk about that song, because, I think that song is a signature Neo song, but I think you brought something a little different to the table with that song.
Yes, Neo, okay, he's probably going to be mad that I said this. But anyway, when I made that track, I actually made that track for a young lady called Bridget Kelly, signed to Rock Nation.
Yeah.
So we had done a song to it. I made the track purposely for Bridget. And the track was so phenomenal, and I was like, "Yo, this song's gotta go." And we really loved the song, but the label didn't like the song. So I had this whole track just sitting there looking at me. And I was like, what am I going to do with it?
Yeah.
And a few months later, I went into the studio with Neo, and Neo's a bit different. Neo's not the type of person that you go in and you put on a keyboard and play. Neo's the type of person you will take like as many tracks that you have in your, and just press play, and he'd be like, I love that one, I love that one, I love that one. So when I went in with Neo, he was like, play me some tracks, man. Let me get to work. And by the way, he's the funniest person I've ever come across. From the moment I walked in, he just makes jokes.
Yeah.
All day.
Yeah.
So he goes in the studio. We go in, and that's the first song. That's the first track I play in. And in the chorus, it does this DJ rewind thing that I do where it sounds like I'm pulling up the track.
Yeah.
And where it goes, and he was like, what the hell is that? And Lenny has bet him $100 that he would be able to write something to that section. So the whole song was a challenge because it was like, the track was so different, you know, and then Lenny was like, I bet you $100 you don't do nothing with that. And he says, all right, cool. He writes one song. He plays it to me, and he looks at me and says, no, that's not it. This is on the same day. He writes another song to the same track.
Wow.
Looks at me and says, nah, I don't like it. Now, you got to understand, the first two songs were incredible.
Wow.
Then he writes this one, which is They Don't Make Them. And that is when I actually stood up and said, firstly, you wrote 3 different songs to the same track in the same day. I applaud you because you didn't give up and you kept pushing until you were satisfied with what you had. And lo and behold, it was an incredible, like he's one of the best artists and songwriters I've ever worked with. It's complete genius to watch him do that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's crazy. You know, another project that, you know, you mentioned that you're heavily involved with is the Fantasia album. So can you just kind of talk to me about the approach that you have with that album, and, you know, what has it been like working with Fantasia?
Fantasia. Well, you know, Fantasia, she's got a big history. You know, American Idol, came with American Idol, had a #1 album, and then kind of chopped off for a little while.
Yeah.
And then she had she had a few personal issues in her personal life that the media took hold of, and it was just kind of heavy for her. So when she came to us, it was kind of heavy. You know what I mean? She was kind of in a place, but she really wanted to, you know, she really wanted to make an impact because she felt like she had to. This is her chance to tell her side of the story. And the one thing I said to her was, well, we're going to change the way you come across. Firstly, you are, you know, we wanted to. She's such a enormous star, like inside her, such a beautiful woman, and has so much to give when it comes to love and music, and so talented. Her voice is incredible, like phenomenal. And you know, she was like, I love Tina Turner, I love Gladys Knight, and we was like, so why don't we just make you a modern day Tina Turner / Gladys Knight? So what we did was we took her away from her typical urban audience, and we gave her a bit of an open sound.
Yeah.
When I say that the chemistry between us is incredible, like, it's almost like we had like half the album done before she came in. She came to the studio and I was playing her song. She was like, oh my God, you're pretty much telling me my life. Like, songs were just perfect for her.
Yeah.
And she was like, how these songs have just been sitting here? I'm like, yeah, they have. And so she cut like 6 songs in like 7 days. And she came back again and we did another 6 songs in like 10 days. And they were like, you know what? You might as well just finish the album. And she was like, the label was like, you might as well finish the album. And when I say it's so eclectically different from anything else she's done, but it's pop, but it's urban, it's left, you know, you can hear CeeLo, you can hear, you know, the CeeLo parts and the Outcast type things, and then, you know, she's got a little bit for everybody. And I think it's going to be one of her biggest albums sonically.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be a very big album sonically for her. I'm so proud of her as well because she worked hard. Yeah, you know, she's not a diva. She doesn't come into the studio and rant and rave and go crazy like the media may put out. She's a sweetheart. She loves her kids. She works so hard. She cuts these songs in like 2 hours flat.
Wow.
She'll come to the studio and cut us our whole song, background, leads, and everything in 2 hours flat.
Wow.
And act like it never happened. Even on a bad day, even on a day where she's not in a good mood, because she's had moments where she hasn't been in a good place, and she'll cut them in like 2-3 hours and be done with it. It's like complete genius. She's a complete genius, and she's vulnerable. She's very vulnerable. One of the things I love about what we did with this album was we told the truth. We didn't hide anything.
Yeah.
So, you know, she has a song where she's telling the dude, without me, what would you be? She's got a song where she's like, you know, 2 days have gone by, I haven't cried yet. I pray this means I'm over you. Like, it's like a real open and vulnerable, you know. And I think a lot of women are going to love her because of her honesty. Because I feel a lot of women are going to be able to find healing from her story.
Wow. So, from the songs that you've done with her, because we haven't heard from Fantasia in a while, what song in particular would you like to introduce the fans to first? If you had a choice for a first single, would you want something that was up-tempo or something that was a ballad like, you know, we're used to hearing from her?
Okay, well, it depends. Right now, she has different audience. She's got an urban audience and she's got a pop audience. And what we're trying to find is the one that sits in the middle where both sides can enjoy it. It's probably going to be mid-tempo. There's 2 or 3 records that they're looking at. She has a collaboration record that is meant to be subject to be, you know, a very big record. It's with 2 sisters. I can't disclose that yet because they have to confirm everything. But
yeah,
the collaboration will be big. It hasn't been done since The Boy Is Mine.
Okay.
Brandy and Monica. But it's going to be big. It's Fantasia and 2 other sisters who, it's going to be incredible when it's completed. And so it could go either way. It's so, I mean, it's in the early stages. They're getting all the features on there for the album right now. The album's in mix stage. And it's subject to be dropping definitely in the first quarter. So between January, it should be out.
Okay.
And I think she should be dropping a single anytime soon. And to be honest with you, it's been for a new producer like me, I did every joint on that album, but maybe 2.
Yeah. That's crazy.
You know, I did like the 10 out of the 12 songs on the album.
Yeah. See, you know, that's crazy because, like, you've worked with so many of the bigger urban acts already in your short time producing in the U.S., yet, you know, you have so many placements. So what does it mean to you to know that they believe in your talents?
It just means that I was born to do it.
Yeah.
It just proves that I was born to do it. You know what I mean? Because, you know, for a very long time, you know, I was like, maybe it's not for me. Maybe I need to just, you know, I was going to quit in '08 and go become a music teacher. Because it was such a struggle, especially back home. You know, being a young urban kid, no one really paid you attention. And just to clarify something, you know, when I came out to Los Angeles, my first placement was Maroon 5.
Yeah.
Was a Maroon 5 album. On the Maroon 5 album. And, you know, everybody's like, oh, you can do that stuff too? I'm like, yeah, I make music. I'm not genre driven.
Yeah.
I'm not an urban kid. I'm not pop. I just make music. I mean, we're working with country acts right now. We're working with rappers. We're working with everybody. Jordan Sparks, Kelly Rowland, you name it, we're doing it.
Yeah.
And we're just interested in making music, to be honest with you, because I'm a musician. I play drums, I play the bass, I play the piano, I play guitar, I vocal produce, I engineer, and, you know, it's just about making great music and a great song and that fits the right artist, and not being mad if you don't, you know, not every song. I've done records for Rihanna. I've got a stack of records I've done for Rihanna that hasn't made it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, some of these songs have gone elsewhere.
Yeah.
So, you know, just because it doesn't go where you want it to go, doesn't mean it's not going to go somewhere that's going to help your career. That's another thing I always tell producers. You know, don't chase the same dollar. You know, nobody was running around trying to work with Fantasia when I worked with Fantasia, because everybody was running around trying to work on the mainstream.
Yeah.
But what they don't understand is, if this album does very well for Fantasia, that breaks me into the mainstream anyway.
Yeah. Exactly. And you know, that's all that I had for you. Is there anything that you'd like to add?
No. But I want to say thank you.
Yep.
Thank you very, very much.
No problem.